You know Twisted Fate is hurting as a champion when you see famous players like Dopa using him less and less on stream. And if you're not an amazing player like Dopa, it's more than likely that playing Twisted Fate mid just feels bad for you. The stats back those feelings up, with Twisted Fate's overall popularity and win rate heavily dropping over the past season. While he can give his team a lot of pressure and utility, he just can't keep up with the safety and damage that newer or more common mid laners in the meta at this moment offer. So what if there was a way to use all of Twisted Fate's utility, but not have to worry as much about your weak matchups or inability to do damage? Well, now there is, with Twisted Fate support. No longer will you have to worry about terrible mid matchups, farming just so you can keep up with other carries, or getting constantly pinged by your side lanes as soon as you have your ultimate. And you already know we found someone in Master Tier who's running it. The player we're analyzing today, in-game, is known as TF Support, but his true name is Rumbo. Rumbo is a new Twisted Fate support OTP who has hit Master this season with some incredible results. Rumbo first started playing League in around Season 2, where he was mostly playing casually with one of his friends. Instead, he spent most of his time with FPS games like CSGO for many years, only visiting League for some ranked games every now and then through Season 7, where he remained silver throughout that whole time. It wasn't until Season 8 where he had burnt himself out on FPS games and came back to League, where he mostly played ARAMs and got a pentakill with Aurelion Sol in one of those games. That sparked a fire in Rumbo, and after researching his champion more by watching some of Quantum's videos here on YouTube, a challenger mid laner who's had a lot of success on ASOL, Rumbo was able to replicate that success and push his way into Diamond for the first season he truly attempted to climb the ladder. Unfortunately, his love for Aurelion Sol was short-lived, because in Season 9, Ryan put out their infamous rework of him where many players fell off from the champion. He instead picked up Zoe, got to Diamond 4, and stopped ranking. In Season 10, it was the same thing. He got to Diamond 4 with Zoe, and then stopped ranking. His love for the game was finally reignited again in Season 11 when he switched to support and started maining Pyke, but unfortunately, life and everyday responsibilities tied up his time again, so he ended up in Diamond 4 once more. It wasn't until this preseason, Season 12, that he discovered TF support. He first found it while playing with his lower ranked friends in normals. After picking it up, he found he was truly having fun with League of Legends again, theory crafting and dominating with Twisted Fate in the support role, so he changed his name accordingly to avoid dodges, and also decided to bring it to ranked since he truly believes that it's a viable pick. His results speak for themselves, since he's already played over 100 games this season with TF support, with a 62% win rate, to where for the first time he has pushed himself into Master Tier, where he continues to climb higher and higher to this day. While Twisted Fate is a master of sleight of hand, he can't hide his weaknesses from us. For one, TF still has issues in many of his bot lane matchups, making it difficult to apply pressure in lane. Twisted Fate's passive is reliant on him farming minions, in which the support role you won't be doing very often. He has no solid built-in damage or sustain, meaning you're going to have an impact for your team in other ways. And finally, and most importantly, most of your teammates won't be able to deal with the fact that you're playing TF support, but don't let that stop you. And even with all these potential problems, Rumbo has found a way to make it work. Twisted Fate's early game and laning phase can be pretty terrifying depending on your matchup. Just like mid lane, TF has a tough time against much of the cast like long range bot laners, hook supports, or mages in general in the bot lane. Much of Rumbo's very early game against these lanes is him staying pretty far back and trying to weave in his W poke whenever possible, without completely exposing himself and maybe following up with some auto attacks or his Q as well. Fortunately, unlike mid lane TF, there are some matchups in the bot lane that he plays very well into, like low roaming melee supports or the very popular meta class of enchanters at this moment. Regardless of his matchup though, how good or bad TF is against a certain lane doesn't really matter very much, because the man is moving around the map so often and can even start at level 2. Enchanters are such a good matchup for TF support, not only because he can deal with them easily in lane, but because enchanters hardly ever match his roams. Instead, they're typically just kind of sitting on top of their ADC for the majority of the game. To maximize his movement around the map, Rumbo has tailor-made his rune page to include all things movement speed, bringing both water walking and celerity in his secondaries to scoot around the map as fast as possible, but also bringing a domination primary page with Relentless Hunter and his keystone, Predator. His main objective is to both push the tempo up throughout the game by traveling with his jungler to secure scuttles and perform ganks, and by pushing his other lanes ahead as much as possible. Because he has Predator as his keystone, his first purchase as soon as he has an opportunity to back and has 3 300 gold is always going to be boots to start using the active. To double down on the movement speed and roaming playstyle even more, the first item he rushes is mobility boots. He says there is no reason to purchase anything else while waiting to purchase your first two items. Much to my dismay, this includes also never purchasing pink wards, but how could I argue with his win rate? He needs all of this mobility to play more safely and to juke around skill shot abilities, but also to more easily get in range to land his Ws or pick a cards, gold cards. In case you haven't noticed yet, this TF support build is all about the gold cards. He's maxing this ability first because at max level, this point and click stun is 2 seconds. 2 seconds, man! I've played League for 10 years, but I honestly had no idea the stun duration scaled up to 2 seconds. I mean, Malzar's ultimate, which is also point and click, suppresses someone for 2.5 seconds, and it's an ultimate and it locks him in place. All of these benefits of Gold Card, coupled with its low cooldown of 6 seconds at max level, which gets even lower with items, Rumble can stun an enemy or enemies in a fight multiple times. This is some significant CC, and unlike if you were playing something like Morgana or Viger, the enemy team will more than likely not itemize for this, and they'll be feeling it. There are some very rare occasions where Rumble will choose a red or blue card, but that's normally just to burst someone down when he's in danger of dying himself. And dying isn't even his biggest concern though, because he says TF can never fall behind no matter how many times he dies. As long as you can press W and click someone, you'll always have consistent value for your team, regardless of your level or income. It's another reason why TF support is so good, his consistency. A point and click stun is always going to be valuable to pretty much any situation. Rumble can control the game well and also punish bad opponents who are mispositioned, overextended, or just make a bad engage. Having a long range ultimate like Destiny can also help with this, but being underleveled and even squishier than mid lane TF, he has to be very careful when he uses this. He uses Destiny similarly to how a mid lane TF would to catch enemies or to escape a bad situation. But since he's a support, he can feel a little bit better about using it in some niche situations like popping someone's spell shield or revealing an invisible enemy like Twitch to help you with picks. In the mid game, he sticks to the same type of strategy, looking for deep wards to more readily catch opponents, trying to find opportunities in the side lanes to 2v1, and hiding in the jungle with his team to look for plays and stuns. By mid game, he's typically already purchased one of the best items for TF, Rapid Fire Cannon. This heavily expands the range for his gold cards when it's active, making it even easier to find picks on enemies and even easier to stay safe. This, coupled with his movement speed runes, make it so that enemies who think they are safe or completely out of range of TF's area of effect are completely wrong. The build is all about utility and stunning people as much as possible, so alongside RFC and those runes, his next purchase is always a Shurelius to find even more opportunities for his team. In fact, if you've been keeping track, the entire build doesn't purchase any damage items at all. He says he doesn't need them. He's tried out more common mythics on TF like Everfrost, but he found that even that was unnecessary, and even with the cost reduction it's seen recently in the beginning of the season, it's still too expensive for him to justify. Once late game rolls around and team fights, he's staying towards the back of his team, looking for the enemy damage dealers to impose his 2-second stun on. You can rarely make picks or plays alone with Twisted Fate support, so he's always sticking with his team as much as possible. He likens hitting this undodgeable 2-second stun to playing against a Blitzcrank or a Thresh that's scripting. The enemy carries can't do anything about it. And the even scarier thought is that if the enemies were playing against a Blitzcrank or a Thresh, their hook abilities are on a much longer cooldown than his W. In teamfights and late game, it's similar to Zillion support where he wants to stay safe in the back if possible, but since his range is so long and movement speed so high, he can easily hop in quickly to land an important stun on those carries. If the teamfight flips against him and his team, he can instead kite easily thanks to gold cards, and if enemies get away, he can pursue them further with his ultimate. The hardest part here is staying alive, so after reviewing his games, I can say that the thing that is going to be hardest to get used to for an average player is going to be emulating his immaculate positioning. For his build, he starts every game with a Spell Thief's Edge. From there, he's rushing for at least his level 1 boots and then upgrading them to Mobies as fast as possible. Next, he'll aim to build his 2 core items, grabbing RFC first and then following up with his mythic item, Shurelius. For his 5th item, he's purchasing Dead Man's Plate for some survivability and of course for more movement speed. And his 6th item can either be a Zanya's Hourglass against Assassin or Heavy Burst teams, or an Anathema's Chains for longer stun durations if the enemy doesn't have much burst threat. If the game goes long or he needs some more oomph in his build, he can buy an elixir of iron. And every now and then, when he's not saving up cash for his core items, he may purchase some control wards to win the vision game. For his runes, he grabs Predator, Taste of Blood for more sustain, Ghost Poro, but he says you can pick your preference here, and Relentless Hunter. His secondary runes are both Water Walking and Celerity, and for his flex runes, he's going 1 ability haste, 1 armor, and scaling health. TF support works well with AP carries in bot lane like Karthus or Syndra, or longer range ADCs like Caitlyn or Sivir because of her safety and the speed boost ultimate. TF support struggles against champs that can negate his stun like Morgana or Samira, or champs that can match his roams like Nautilus or Twitch. Thanks y'all for checking out this video. If you did enjoy it, I ask you a favor to either like this video or check out the links in the description for our Discord, Twitter, or my Twitch account to watch me try to climb through the ranks. If you're looking for more support guides, I heavily suggest you check out our last support video, which was on Renata Glass. See you guys next time. Peace.